The crystal chandeliers of the Grand Azure Hotel sparkled above me as I pushed my housekeeping cart down the plush corridor of the 15th floor. Each step on the Persian carpet reminded me of my Aunt Victoria's words. True leadership means understanding every aspect of your business from the ground up. 3 months ago, I, Isabella Chen, had started working as a housekeeper at one of San Francisco's most prestigious luxury hotels. The same hotel my aunt had built from nothing 30 years ago. The same hotel where, unknown to everyone except my aunt's lawyer, I was actually the majority shareholder. Room service. A sharp voice mockingly called out as I reached for door 1507. Gerard Morrison, the hotel's general manager, stood there in his impeccable suit, a sneer playing on his lips. Still cleaning toilets, Miss Chen? I straightened my uniform, keeping my face neutral. Good morning, Mr. Morrison. You know, he said, checking his gold Rolex. When Victoria mentioned her niece would be joining our staff, I expected someone more executive material. But I suppose some people just belong in the service class. If he only knew that Aunt Victoria had specifically required me to work 6 months in every department before I could officially take over as owner. Everyone's role is important in hospitality, I replied diplomatically. He laughed, the sound echoing down the hallway. That's what we tell the help to keep them motivated. Speaking of which, don't forget the staff meeting at 2 p.m. Though I doubt housekeeping insights will be valuable for our luxury expansion plans. As he walked away, I thought about the folder locked in my apartment safe. The ownership papers, the trust documents, the detailed instructions from Aunt Victoria. Learn every position, Isabella, she had written. Experience every role. Only then will you truly understand how to lead. The staff meeting that afternoon was held in the hotel's grand ballroom, crystal chandeliers casting elegant shadows across the assembled employees. I sat in the back with the other housekeeping staff, watching as Gerard commanded the room from his podium. The Grand Azure is entering a new era, he announced, his voice carrying authority. Our expansion plans will make us the premier luxury hotel chain on the West Coast. However, his eyes swept the room, lingering dismissively on the housekeeping section. This means we need to elevate our standards. Some of our current staff may not fit the new image we're cultivating. Maria, a housekeeper who had worked here for 20 years, tensed beside me. She had 3 kids in college, all on the hotel's employee education program that Aunt Victoria had started. In fact, Gerard continued, a cold smile forming, I'll be reviewing all ground-level positions next week. We need to ensure everyone here truly belongs at the Grand Azure. I felt my hands clench. This was exactly what Aunt Victoria had warned me about in her final days. Watch carefully, Isabella, she had said from her hospital bed. See who respects only power and who respects people. That's how you'll know who to trust. After the meeting, I found Maria crying in the staff break room. 20 years, she whispered. Your aunt, she always treated us like family. Now Mr. Morrison. She wiped her eyes. My kid's tuition. I wanted to tell her everything right then. That in 2 weeks, when the 6-month waiting period in Aunt Victoria's will expired, I would be announced as the hotel's owner. That Gerard's expansion plans would need my approval. That the education program would not only continue but expand. Instead, I simply said, trust in what Aunt Victoria built, Maria. Some things are stronger than they appear. That evening, as I cleaned the luxury suites on the top floor, I thought about power and how it reveals people's true nature. Gerard had no idea that every report he'd filed criticizing low-level staff had gone directly to my secure email. Every memo suggesting cuts to employee benefits had been logged. Every instance of him taking credit for others' work had been noted. My phone buzzed, a message from Mr. Chen, Aunt Victoria's lawyer. 2 weeks until the will reading. Everything proceeding as planned. I looked around the presidential suite I was cleaning, remembering the summers I'd spent here with Aunt Victoria, learning about hospitality, about business, about treating people with dignity regardless of their position. Yes, I texted back. I've learned exactly what I needed to know. The next morning, I arrived early to find an envelope on my locker. Inside was a formal notice. My position was being reviewed as part of the hotel's quality improvement initiative. The meeting was scheduled for Friday, exactly 3 days before the will reading. Perfect timing, Mr. Morrison. Show everyone exactly who you are. As I pushed my cart down the hallway, I smiled, thinking of Aunt Victoria's favorite saying, "In hospitality as in life, timing is everything." In 2 weeks, Gerard Morrison would learn just how right she was. The sound of my housekeeping cart's wheels echoed through the corridor, each turn bringing me closer to the moment when everything would change. But first there were rooms to clean, guests to serve, and valuable lessons to learn about who deserved to inherit not just Aunt Victoria's hotel but her legacy. Friday arrived with the weight of storm clouds gathering over San Francisco Bay. I stood in front of Gerard Morrison's office, my housekeeping uniform pristine, waiting for my performance review. "Enter," his voice commanded. The office that had once been my aunt's felt cold now. Gone were the photos of staff celebrations, the handwritten thank you notes from guests, the warmth that had made the Grand Azure special. Instead, modern art pieces and industry awards dominated the walls, all bearing Gerard's name. "Sit," he gestured to a small chair, not looking up from his laptop. After a moment of calculated silence, he finally raised his eyes. "Miss Chen, your performance has been adequate. However, adequate isn't what the Grand Azure represents." I sat quietly, watching him perform his practice speech. "Your aunt may have had certain outdated ideas about hotel management, but in today's luxury market, we need staff who understand their place." He slid a document across his desk. "This is a voluntary resignation form. Sign it and you'll receive 2 weeks severance pay." "And if I don't sign?" His smile turned cold. "Then I'll be forced to terminate you for poor performance. No severance, no references. Your choice." I picked up the paper, reading it carefully. "May I have until Monday to decide?" "Monday?" He laughed. "Always putting things off. Typical of your level." "Fine. Monday 9 a.m. sharp. Though I should mention," he added with false concern, "several positions are being eliminated next week. The severance offer expires today." I stood up, smoothing my uniform. "Monday it is." "Your aunt would be disappointed," he called after me. "She built this place understanding luxury. You just understand cleaning toilets." I paused at the door. "Aunt Victoria taught me that true luxury isn't about crystal and marble, Mr. Morrison. It's about making people feel valued." His laugh followed me down the hallway. Over the weekend I worked my regular shifts, noting how Gerard had already started implementing changes. The employee dining room's quality had been downgraded. Staff breaks were shortened. The education program's paperwork was mysteriously delayed. Sunday evening I received a text from Mr. Chen. "We'll reading tomorrow 10 a.m. All arranged as requested." I smiled, thinking of the security cameras I'd had installed in Gerard's office 3 months ago. Cameras that had captured every backroom deal, every instance of harassment, every moment of him taking credit for others' work. Monday morning arrived bright and clear. At 8:55 a.m., I walked into Gerard's office, still in my housekeeping uniform. "Ah, finally accepting reality?" he smirked, reaching for the resignation form. "Actually," I said, sitting down without waiting for his permission, "I wanted to discuss the hotel's future." He sighed dramatically. "Listen, some people just aren't cut out for luxury hospitality. Your aunt may have given you a job out of pity, but—" "Interesting choice of office decoration," I interrupted, gesturing to a large painting. "Though I believe that was a gift from the Shanghai investors to my aunt. Just like that antique desk was a personal gift from the mayor. Family heirlooms, you might say." His face reddened. "Security," he barked into his phone. "Oh, they're a bit busy at the moment," I smiled. "You see, there's a rather important meeting happening in the grand ballroom. The reading of my Aunt Victoria's will." The color drained from his face. "She always said timing was everything," I continued, standing up. "Shall we head down? I believe they're waiting for us." The grand ballroom was packed. Hotel staff, board members, investors, all turned to stare as Gerard and I entered. Mr. Chen stood at the podium, documents ready. "Now that everyone is here," the lawyer began, "let us proceed with the reading of Victoria Chen's last will and testament." I took my seat in the front row, finally removing my housekeeping name tag. "The Grand Azure Hotel, including all properties and assets, valued at approximately $80 million, Mr. Chen read clearly, is hereby transferred to my niece, Isabella Chen." The room erupted in whispers. Gerard gripped his armrest, knuckles white. However, Mr. Chen continued, this transfer is contingent upon Miss Chen completing 6 months of service in various hotel positions, beginning with housekeeping, to fully understand hotel operations from every perspective. I stood up, walking to the podium. Thank you, Mr. Chen. And thank you, Aunt Victoria, for teaching me the most valuable lesson in hospitality. Every role matters. Turning to the assembled crowd, I continued. The Grand Azure was built on 2 principles: exceptional service and respect for every employee who makes that service possible. Some recent management decisions have strayed from these principles. Security footage began playing on the ballroom screens of Gerard's meetings, his threats, his schemes to dismantle employee programs. Effective immediately, I announced, all employee benefit programs will be reinstated and expanded. The education program will receive additional funding. And, I paused, looking directly at Gerard, we will be restructuring upper management to better align with our values. Maria, sitting with other housekeeping staff, had tears in her eyes. Around her, employees who'd feared for their jobs began to smile. Miss Chen, Gerard stood up, his voice strained, you can't possibly. I believe, I cut in smoothly, you'll find my aunt's choice of successor is quite legal. Mr. Chen has all the paperwork. Though I'd be happy to discuss your severance package. I hear 2 weeks' pay is the standard you prefer. The ballroom erupted in applause, drowning out Gerard's spluttered protests. Later that evening, I sat in what was now my office, restored to how Aunt Victoria had kept it, with staff photos back on the walls. Maria knocked on the door holding a familiar housekeeping cart. Miss Chen? Miss Isabella. Isabella is fine, Maria. Come in. We just wanted to say. She gestured behind her where dozens of staff members gathered. Thank you. For understanding. For learning our jobs. I smiled, thinking of all the lessons learned pushing that housekeeping cart. Thank you for teaching me. Now, shall we discuss those education program applications for next semester? The next morning I arrived early as always. But instead of pushing a cleaning cart, I walked through my hotel, greeting staff by name, asking about their families, listening to their ideas. In the lobby, I paused by the grand staircase where a new portrait now hung. Aunt Victoria, smiling warmly with her favorite quote inscribed below. Luxury isn't about marble floors and crystal chandeliers. It's about making every person who walks through our doors feel valued, guest or employee. I touched my old housekeeping name tag, now framed on my office wall, and smiled. Some people thought true power came from looking down on others. Aunt Victoria had taught me it came from lifting them up. The Grand Azure continued to thrive, not just as a luxury hotel, but as a place where every employee felt valued. Gerard? Last I heard, he was managing a small airport hotel, learning some valuable lessons about respect. As for me, I still help clean rooms occasionally, much to the surprise of wealthy guests. After all, as Aunt Victoria always said, the perfect room isn't about the thread count of the sheets or the brand of champagne in the minibar. It's about the care that went into preparing it. And care, I've learned, is something that can't be measured in stars or dollars, only in the pride of a job well done, no matter what that job might be.